Bitcoin's alive, what you gon' do? Mempool fees are high. Ordinal. Where does it stop? Nobody knows. It's a revolution, ayy. Bitcoin is the one, no substitution, ayy. With Shizzy and Yagobi, it's Ordinal Revolution.
Welcome back to Ordinal Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire Bitcoin Ordinal ecosystem. What's up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We have a really fun interview today with Kendall. He works for proximity.dev. These guys are cooking stuff with Near. They do a lot of R&D with Near, and we're actually going to dig into it because we had Jeff from RuneMine on a few times with was it Mine Labs, and what these guys are building, they're actually using Near in the back end. And we want to learn exactly what they're doing, and it's just fitting to have Kendall on today to kind of really learn about maybe what Jeff didn't tell us, right? So maybe some R&D stuff, maybe some alpha in here as well. I'm looking forward to today's episode. So without further ado, let me bring in my partner here, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up,
man? So this, I got to give you all the credit for this. You did your you put your boots on the ground. You found this, and I'd love for you to break it down.
Yeah, so I've been really interested in this account abstraction approach and really trying to research as much as I can to see what other layers or chains are able to service our Bitcoin layer 1 assets. Because as our audience knows, and people that spend time in the Bitcoin ecosystem knows, Bitcoin's limitations doesn't allow for on-chain computation. So what does that mean? There's opportunity for other chains that might want to grow their community and kind of merge their community with the Bitcoin community as well. And I happened to cross over into the Mine Labs spaces, and then I was listening to Kendall talk, and he was really breaking down kind of the science behind how Near protocol is able to service our assets and how they're able to kind of minimize trust, because that's the most important thing for Bitcoiners, right? They go crazy about that, like trust minimized bridges and smart contracts and stuff like that. So I just reached out to him and said, hey, can we get you on the show? He agreed, and here we are today.
Yeah, man. Let's get started. Let's bring him right up, right?
Do it.
All right, Kendall, welcome to Ordinal Revolution. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, man. I'm going to ask you this question we always ask everybody. We can't wait to hear about proximity and Near and everything that we're going to be talking about today. But we'd love to learn about you first, if you wouldn't mind kind of breaking down your backstory.
Yeah, for sure. So originally was a Bitcoiner at the very, very beginning, back when it was like kind of only Bitcoin. I think I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013 and actually started building kind of like an auto savings app where like round up my purchases and buy Bitcoin. Unfortunately, I did not run that nearly enough. I wish I'd made that very, very aggressive, but such is the way of that journey. And then I've been, fortunate to be full-time kind of building in the crypto space since 2017. Started building in Ethereum, worked for a company called Consensus that builds a lot of developer tooling and exciting projects there. And then I joined Near in 2019. I was really drawn to just kind of the way they were thinking about, at the time, how to make layer 1s more performant. They're very focused on this concept called sharding that still actually has been serving us well today to quite a few, like millions of transactions per day. And then we spun out and set up a new entity to kind of focus on building out decentralized finance products about 3.5 or 4 years ago. And since then, we've kind of been helping build a lot of new tooling for just the space in general. So our focus for about the past 1.5 years has been this concept called chain abstraction, which the way we view it is actually using some of the tooling and some of the throughput advantages that Near has to create new experiences and opportunities for other ecosystems. So this can be a few things. This can be cross-chain interactions. So we have products that enable users to swap between, say, Solana and ETH and Bitcoin in a really fast and performant way, and also get really good execution. And then we also have like an entire suite of products that lets builders create these really, really Bitcoin native feeling experiences that like let them just use their Bitcoin, custody it in what we think is like a reasonably trust minimized way, and then and then use their Bitcoin wallet and just kind of keep that experience going. So there's been a lot of excitement around things like runes lately, and some of the experiences you can build there. And yeah, we have quite a few teams who are coming to market over the next few weeks that are, I think, really going to continue pushing in that direction, and just giving Bitcoiners like more interesting things to do with their Bitcoin, which is really what it's all about.
That's super exciting stuff, man. First of all, I didn't know Near protocol is that old. I thought they kind of blossomed in the last towards the end of the last DeFi run, but I was wrong in that. 2019 is pretty early for them, and they were the pioneers of sharding, which is heavily used, right, still to this day, for TEE environments. But you mentioned that you guys are working with Bitcoiners to or like try to allow Bitcoiners to use their Bitcoins in more ways than just store value and stuff like that. I'm noticing like other layers and stuff that are also focusing on this. Do you think this is the way of the future because of just like Bitcoin is not going to probably upgrade, right? They're not going to risk the security. So do you think these are just going to be like opportunities, and the best, I guess, chains or environments that take advantage will win?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say I certainly believe yes. I think like look there. I'm still cautiously optimistic that there's potential for some very minor upgrades to Bitcoin. They can add a lot of functionality. OP-cat or similar, I think, would be interesting. Um, Even if that happens, like there's some amazing teams who are building some really really cool and impressive kind of true roll up solutions for Bitcoin, which can kind of keep the security assumptions more or less the same. I think the challenge though is Bitcoin was designed for a very specific purpose, which is basically s- s- you know s- uh, sovereign defensibility, which is obviously extremely important. But like the trade off of that is I think it is extremely difficult for it to scale. So even if we have these roll ups, the reality of it is that like the transaction fees are still going to be pretty high for most that are and cost prohibitive for most use cases. So I think like what we're starting to see a lot of people really shift their mindset to is like, okay, well, what are some other ways that we can take advantage of like the core principle of Bitcoin, which is that it is actually the best crypto asset. It's like far and above the best crypto asset that exists, and I think that'll probably continue to be true for a very long time, if not forever. And like how can we take advantage of those properties and strengths, and then take advantage of the properties and strengths of these new scalable, more performant, and also, to be clear, still very trust minimized chains. So yes, I'm a strong believer that like we're going to see. I think the experiments that excite me the most now are thinking about how do you pair and utilize Bitcoin, with all these new and other assets. Like I think it is kind of the ultimate pair asset. Like we'll actually see, a lot of like rather than teams denominating their liquidity in terms of ETH or Sol or USDC, I think they'll start denominating it in terms of Bitcoin, because that's going to have some like really important, unique advantages over these other assets.
Yeah, man, definitely 100%. But for people out there who don't know, like, can you kind of explain what Near is and like what tech stack that it uses?
Absolutely. So yeah, at its core, Near is a layer one blockchain. I think our initial focus was we want a layer one blockchain that can scale as much as it needs to, and the approach that we utilize for that is sharding, which means that we actually split up randomly every so often, like on kind of like also like a random basis, the which validators validate which part of the state of the blockchain, and like which validators validate which kind of transactions that come in, and then we mix them up. And what this enables us to do is that each validator can run a smaller machine, but still but combine, like each of the different kind of subcommittees can combine to bring more throughput to the network. So you can imagine if you have an application that's getting really popular, it can actually be kind of grow to be put on its own shard, so that it basically gets the full throughput of like what normally would be kind of a separate blockchain. The cool part and the way we approach sharding is there's still just one canonical blockchain. So each of these shards basically produces a chunk, and those chunks are then combined into a block. So you still have effectively composability between these different shards. It's not actually like you have to deal with different blockchains. Like developers don't have to reason about the fact that sharding exists and that there might be more or less shards from time to time. They can just reason about, okay, I deployed this contract. I know that it's going to be allocated to whatever shard is going to give it the most throughput based on how much it needs. If it needs less, it'll be co-located with a bunch of other contracts that also need less throughput. If it needs an insane amount of throughput, then it'll eventually grow to have its own shard. And then we're now even exploring, ways that you can actually split a single application amongst several different shards in case you had like an insanely popular application that's processing, thousands and thousands of transactions per second. It might actually need to be logically split itself amongst multiple shards. So that's the core of like what we did, is like creating a really scalable blockchain. A newer addition to our tech stack is what we think is kind of the secret sauce to enabling developers to build on Bitcoin and to build on these other chains, which is decentralized multi-party computation. So to define a little bit about what that means, so multi-party computation is the idea of you basically take, in our case, like 30 different parties, and you have each of them individually generate their own private key. And then they basically pass around some messages signing with their individual private key. And from that, you basically get a new public key that collectively they can sign for, like they can effectively collectively and individually sign for effectively the private key of that public key, but without any of them being able to know what that private key is never like reconstructed in its entirety. And you can configure a threshold of them through which, like, this threshold, so like of the 30, 20 of them have to agree to sign something and actually sign it in order to sign for that kind of master public key, that the private key of which is still unknown. So this technology has actually been used in production for quite some time. It's very popular in the crypto custodian space. So Coinbase uses similar techniques. Fireblocks in particular uses MPC in a big way. We believe that it's possible to credibly decentralize this process. The way we do that is that all signature requests originate as transactions on the Near blockchain. And then these validators basically are listening to these signers are listening to those requests, and then they will only respond and sign to those requests if they come from the blockchain, and then they actually return that signature to the blockchain again. So, and what this means is that any Near account holder can request a signature for any chain on the Near blockchain. They can request to sign transactions on Bitcoin, and it'll basically sign for a key that only their account can request a signature from. So that's like the beginning building block. And where it gets even more exciting, so we have smart contracts, like very powerful smart contracts on Near that users can write in using many different languages, because we support WebAssembly as our virtual machine. So that's like Rust, Python, JavaScript, a lot of different languages. And what's exciting is that a Near account can either be an end user account or it can be a smart contract. And so like what this means is that smart contracts that don't have any other keys on them, like they are immutable, they're only going to run according to the logic in the smart contract, the rules of the smart contract, they can request these signatures for these payloads. And so like that's the building block of how we're basically enabling Near smart contracts to custody Bitcoin and runes and ordinals and any other asset that'll be issued on Bitcoin, in addition to custodying assets on any blockchain. And so all that together is why the TLDR, for anyone who doesn't care about the details of how that's working, is you can use Near smart contracts to custody Bitcoin, to move Bitcoin, to enable Bitcoin lending, runes, swapping between USDC on Solana and Bitcoin, and the sky's the limit there.
Gotcha. So the smart contracts can act like, so it's going to basically have logic that will trigger when to sign using its Bitcoin wallet. Is that how it would work? For example, like, because you say, because it's not an individual, right? So you take away the centralization from that aspect from it, right? So it's a smart contract that has a Bitcoin address assigned to it. But how does it sign for a Bitcoin transaction?
Yeah, great question. So basically, there's the way that the sort of signer node logic is set up is so that if you take a Near account, let's say it's a Near smart contract, that smart contract has an address. The signers in this signing network, they will only sign for a specific key for that comes from that specific account. So if you have your account will have its own key that these signers will sign for. And that's enforced through a few different cryptographic techniques that we can dive into. And then if Shizzy has one, it'll also it'll sign for a different key for only him and only coming from his Near account or his Near smart contract, and then same for me. So basically that like signing logic is baked into the signer nodes to only sign for those accounts. yeah, and that's how we handle that.
Gotcha.
Incredible. What's the transactions per second for something like Near?
Yeah, so Near is well, we think of it in terms of shards. So each shard, I mean, transactions are not created equal. You can have larger or smaller transactions. And we're thinking swaps, like we usually benchmark around 300 to 500 transactions per second per shard. And so there's 8 shards right now. So, you know, several thousand transactions per second. I think the most we've done in production that we sort of needed was at like the 3,000 to 4,000 transaction per second mark. But we can scale much more than that. So we've tested with 100 shards. I think that's sort of where we're aiming to get to, and we haven't needed that yet. I think like Near averages in the somewhere between 5 to 10 million transactions per day in like actual kind of throughput that we need right now. But there have been blips where it's gone way above that, and then we've been able to pretty easily just shard to, like add a new shard or remove a shard or whatever in order to add support for the network.
Wow, that's incredible. And obviously you guys have room to expand with the more and more shards. So you could potentially maybe one day even beat Visa and MasterCard, right?
That's
Yeah, I
big
mean,
feat.
I think that centralized systems just inherently can handle more load because you don't have to deal with like adversarial environments. So any blockchain that's claiming that they can beat centralized systems is not a blockchain. Let's put it that way. But yes, I
Yeah.
do think that we can support use cases eventually that get close to that scale, or even to that scale. Like I think it might be that there's like an inherent, it's like, sure, you can add capacity all day at Visa or MasterCard, but they don't necessarily need it, right? Like there's just like actual demand, right? They just need to be big enough to serve the demand. And so I do think that we'll be able to get to the point where we can serve similar demand, even if we might not need additional throughput.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I'm still a little bit hung up on the kind of the trust minimized approach here. So I want to kind of give you an example, and then you can kind of walk me through it. So the way that like some of these Bitcoin layer 2s, right? They use EVM technology, and the way that they've been able to bridge runes or ordinals and stuff over is they're sent on Bitcoin to a MPC wallet, right? And then from that MPC wallet, once they get triggered that, okay, this address sent this over, there is account abstraction on the other side that associates that Bitcoin address with an EVM address, and then they pop out a synthetic version of that asset that was sent to the MPC wallet. Now, Near doesn't have that MPC wallet, correct? There would be a different way to bridge the asset over, and would it go directly into the address in the smart contract, or if you could maybe explain that scenario?
Yeah, great question. So we do use MPC. The
Okay.
difference between us and most of these layer 2s is that their MPC is I'd say like quite custodial in the sense that they have either a small number of parties or even like a single party, like a single custodian who's like, they might be using MPC. Like most custodians use MPC even if there's only like one sort of centralized owner, but they use MPC just to make it more one of the benefits of MPC is that you have to compromise like usually multiple machines in order to create a malicious transaction. So even like a single owner might use MPC in order to just make it more difficult for attackers to compromise the
Gotcha.
results. So a lot of these layer 2s, I'd say pretty much all the ones I'm aware of. There's some that are doing more interesting stuff for sure. I think like Botniks and others are definitely getting way more into the how you can actually decentralize MPC, which is the direction that, like that's our kind of secret sauce. Is like the MPC as a technology is just you split up who can sign things. So that can be very centralized, like just one owner who has maybe 2 keys, and then they have a centralized party like a service having a third key, and like that's using MPC, but it's obviously not decentralized because like that owner has complete control, which is great for self custody, but like not very good for custodying other people's funds. Or you can expand that set dramatically, create some rules that each of those operators in the set must follow. And there's a lot of ways you enforce that following, right? You can use crypto economic incentives. This is like what someone like Threshold uses. You can use kind of newer, kind of like hardware enforced incentives. Not as many teams have explored this using like this trusted execution environment. That's something we're very optimistic on, but there are some drawbacks, which is why you want to combine it with something like MPC. And then you can use, you can use those 3 techniques, right? The crypto economic incentives, the hardware, and or yeah, you can use like proof of authority, right? Kind of like trust me pro, or even, I mean, so Wormhole does this. Wormhole has like 19 different parties that are all publicly known. So there's like a social element to it and like a legal element. That's obviously not, that's not what like we're all about here at crypto. So that's like, this isn't what we're trying to do. But I think it's like, I mean, it does work for, a few $1 billion, and like, as long as like there are no sort of, I think, regulatory considerations, then that's a solution. So what we do is we've looked at each of these different components, and we think that like the right solution actually uses all three, because that's how you create like the most robust system. And so to explain the properties of our system, so there is a set of signers that, if a threshold, and what we're aiming to get to is this like 20 of 30. So if 20 of 30 of these parties would be able to would agree to sign something, then they could execute that signature, and then thus execute that transaction. So like this is the way that our system will work, is like when you're going from Bitcoin to Near, that's fortunately extremely trust minimized, because on Near we can actually validate every single Bitcoin block that comes in, and thus every single transaction. And the way we do that is there's a smart contract that actually recomputes the proof of work for every single block that like anyone can submit to this. So like either of you could say, okay, cool, I just saw a Bitcoin block come in, I'm going to submit it to the Near Bitcoin Lite client. And if that block is correct, like if we compute the proof of work's valid, the hash matches the previous block, and then all the transactions like and match the kind of Merkle root of the block, like all that checks out, we say yes, cool, now it's added. Now you can, any of the transactions in that block can basically have manipulated the equivalent state on Near, which could mean like you sent Bitcoin to an address, and we can prove that happened on Near. And then if it was invalid, we of course like reject it. So like that's very trust minimized. So like that's how you get Bitcoin to be like a Bitcoin transfer to be recognized on Near. That's step one. Step two is like that address that you're transferred to, that's going to be controlled by the smart contract. That's where the MPC kicks in. So the address you're transferring to on Near is also using MPC. Now, the reason that we believe that this is trust minimized enough, I mean, look, we're not going to sit here and say like this is the same security principles as Bitcoin. It doesn't. Nothing does. And I think that's why we think this is like a worthwhile trade-off to make for specific use cases. So the way that it works is that that MPC address, so we have this network of signers. So this network of signers will be chosen by kind of Near stakers. So like the idea of what we're trying to create is that this will effectively be a subset of the Near validator set. And eventually it might even be the entire Near validator set that'll be running this MPC signer logic. That MPC signer logic is also running inside of a trusted execution environment, which is this kind of like hardware siloed kind of enclave that gives you a way to kind of prove that the code is running in a correct way. So this is how we can have additional guarantees that the only requests that these signers are responding to are requests that originated on the Near blockchain. That's why we have all signature requests originate on Near. And then finally, if for instance, one of the validators tries to propose that a signature happened that didn't happen, then we optionally would have the ability to slash them. Now, how you actually prove that this, like who the signature, that invalid signature request came from, and which one of the nodes it was, like that is complicated. There's like some kind of very novel cryptography that needs to be used to do that. So that is not live today. Whether or not that actually is necessary, I think depends on, how reliably can you kind of rotate this signing set, and then how much can you trust both a distributed set of, up to 30 signers, and also trust this kind of trusted execution environment tech to enforce that, the code is running correctly. So I think like for our perspective, we believe that each of these different constructs together basically creates at least a system that'll be reliable enough to custody large quantities of these assets. Like if every single Bitcoin was being custodied by this system, I think that's absurd, right? Like that doesn't, but if this is used to custody some Bitcoin because you need to use this in order to like buy runes using your Bitcoin, I think that makes a ton of sense. If this is used to even borrow against your Bitcoin, especially, if we're talking like billions of dollars of Bitcoin, not like tens or hundreds of billions of dollars of Bitcoin, I think that's a worthwhile trade-off. If this is used to provide liquidity using some Bitcoin tokens that will be paired against Sol or ETH or any of these new tokens, I think that trade-off is worth it. So like that's where we that's kind of where we draw the line. Is we're like, we have to be realistic about what's possible. I think this is a like a meaningfully decentralized system, but not as decentralized as Bitcoin itself. But the trade-off is that it unlocks so many new use cases that it's worthwhile to adopt the system in specific cases.
Yeah, I actually love it. I love the fact that you guys incorporate all three because it's extra fail safes, as well as one of like for a signer to really go the opposite direction. I mean that they're not going to risk getting slashed, So they're for them. Like I would imagine 99% of the time there's something going on or something, right? So what is that challenge turnaround time? Like if someone does say, okay, the sign wasn't correct or something like that.
Yeah, great question. So to be clear, the slashing is not live today. That's very much still like a research problem.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So that right now we're relying on the combination of the hardware security and also just the fact that you have kind of a large set of signers that can be voted in and out by near token holders. So the idea,
Gotcha.
like the way we think about the security is that hopefully the hardware security will be enough. If it's not, that's fine because we still have enough kind of information about like the distribution of the validator set for users to be able to see, okay, cool, like I can see that this is a reliable set of the near validator set. Like these are validators who have been running these companies, running these operations for a long time. They have a really proven track record. If there are malicious validators that start kind of getting voted into the set, that'll be we believe pretty transparent. So then you're basically relying on two things to happen. You're relying on the malicious parties to sneak in, at least, well, 2/3 of the set actually, because like if 1/3 of the set was malicious, then the set just doesn't sign any, or more than 1/3, then the set just like doesn't sign anything. And so we can have some fail safes on the Bitcoin side. You could use things like hash time lock contracts, or there's like a lot of techniques to make it like so that the Bitcoin holders would be able to just unilaterally withdraw. Or if the set is starting to become malicious, you can basically work in update kind of you can have basically update timelines where like you can't update the set without like a 3-7x day waiting period. So basically the idea is that users would have a good amount of time to see, okay, there's some characters that I'm not familiar with who are getting voted into this set. And then even still, you're then also assuming that that the hardware itself was also compromised. So you're looking at like a 0-day exploit in Intel and AWS, like these different hardware providers. So I guess specifically be Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA are like the three biggest providers of these kind of trusted execution environment chips.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I really do like this approach because at the end of the day, like there are layer 1 maxis, believe it or not, because the laser eye class, which are crazy. And then like when Ordinals and Runes came, the laser eyes were like, get out of here. And we were like, no, we're open to new ideas. And all of a sudden, like some of those people turned into layer 1 maxis. Were like, oh, you can't, won't have the same security. But I think having these three approaches is definitely like the best approach that I've heard so far, at least for like trying to bring the trust minimized to I guess like a reasonable approach, like you said. So I love it.
Yeah. And that's why we're very big on the term trust minimized for this, not trustless. Like, let's be clear, like few things are trustless. I think Bitcoin is about as close as you can get in this world, which is why it's so great. But we recognize that there are limitations what Bitcoin can and probably should be able to do. And so if you're willing to accept, again, a robust set of trust minimization principles in exchange for additional functionality that probably can't and shouldn't be on the Bitcoin OL, we think that's a worthwhile choice to make.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's awesome. For someone who's just a user, right? Like, can you walk me through the process of potentially taking my Bitcoin, taking my doll go to the moon rune, right, and using something? You guys have 174 million in TVL. Let's just say I want to use something like Rev Finance, and I want to add liquidity to this, and I wanted to potentially go to something like Borrow Finance and maybe borrow against my asset as well. What will be the process going from me and my Xverse wallet with Bitcoin and Doggo to the moon on there to the process of potentially using these sites?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the beauty of it, and yeah, we're doing this like maybe a week too early for me being able to send you all the links, but for Bitcoiners, like specifically for utilizing your Bitcoin, you won't have to deal with any of the kind of near specific aspects. Like, yeah, we have our own. There's a lot of great wallets that exist for near, including many that support Bitcoin as well. But you'll actually just be able to think in terms of, I have one of any of the popular Bitcoin wallets. I have Bitcoin. I want to find these apps that like let me use my Bitcoin. They might happen to be on near. Great. It is what it is. But you won't have to think about anything more than that. So you'll be able to there's a lending protocol that'll be launched fairly soon. And actually Burrow will likely be adding this like Bitcoin support as one of the assets. And you'll just be
Awesome.
able to send Bitcoin to it'll give you an address. You'll be able to send Bitcoin to that address. You can also, of course, check, to make sure that that's, a valid address. That'll be available. And then you'll just see it deposited. Like you send it to the address as soon as I think they wait for 2 block confirmations, just to be safe and make sure that
On the
there's no
Bitcoin
risk.
side?
On the Bitcoin side, yeah, 2
Okay.
block confirmations on the Bitcoin side. I mean, you could do one, but I think a lot of times it comes down to just the size, right? Like, you don't want a reorg to happen, if you're depositing a large amount of Bitcoin, for instance, especially like, getting into, multi-millions of dollars. You'll send it, those block confirmations will go by, and then you'll just see it credited into your account. And you'll be able to sign any transactions from there, like borrow. We have native USDT and USDC. You can deposit to Binance, whatever. You'll be able to borrow those assets by just signing a message using your Bitcoin wallet. So you just it's just a BIP 322 message. It'll be very clear what it is that you'll be doing within that message. We make it very, very easy to know what it is that you're signing. And then that's it. The action will just happen. So that could be you borrowing, that could be you swapping for runes, for stable coins, for more Bitcoin. You could borrow stable coins and then swap for more Bitcoin, whatever it is that you're going to do. And then if you want to leave, you want your Bitcoin back, you just click withdraw within the app that you're on. And that one fortunately can confirm in just like one block confirmation, because it's actually just immediate. Basically, the next Bitcoin block, you'll receive your Bitcoin back to your back on the Bitcoin network, so that you're like outside of this kind of ecosystem. So I mean, yeah, very, very, very similar to like, I think Odin Fund nailed a very similar experience, and it's going to feel a lot like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, because right now Odin Fund just allows you to use obviously their site, but what you guys are doing with Near, I'm going to be able to use my Bitcoin in all types of different ways. But you said there's new stuff coming, and there's also Burrow and stuff like that. So I guess my question would be, so when I'm using Near, will I see my balance in my Xverse wallet? Because I obviously I'm depositing it, right? So it's going to look like zero to me. Where can I see my balances? Was there going to be something like a smart wallet or like what something like that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, unfortunately, we won't be able to see it in Xverse itself. Until Xverse kind of adds support for this balance. So something to check with them on.
Yeah.
But we basically, yeah, there's like a so the tech that we with like the abstraction we've created for developers to build these experiences basically includes kind of an embedded wallet within your app. So the cool part is you'll be able to see that balance across any app that supports Bitcoin in this way. So like you can go to, for like once it's added to Ref and Burrow, you'll be able to go to either Ref and Burrow and just see the same Bitcoin balance in both of those using this embedded wallet, and then any other app that's supporting this. So yeah, you won't be able to like check it in Xverse itself until that support is added. But you
Yeah.
will be able to see it in a very clear way within any of the apps you're using. And like you mentioned, yeah, there's going to be an entire ecosystem of apps that you can move between very quickly, because once you're in the ecosystem, then we're talking seconds to move in and out of apps versus minutes. And then obviously when you want to withdraw back to Bitcoin, then be back in your wallet.
Yeah.
Are you guys
So
building?
go ahead.
Are you guys building like a wallet as well, potentially, where I can see those things if I choose to use it?
Yeah, so you can use any of the near compatible wallets, and you will be able to see that. In that case, you will be able to see your
Okay.
balance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So like
this
Nightly's
is,
one that's been. You go for it.
well, I was just going to say, this is basically the Bitcoin wallet address is entangled with the abstraction software wallet that's going to be integrated into these applications, correct? So
That's correct. So yeah.
same situation as Particle Network.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, similar concept to what they're doing. I think they've been a team that's been like extremely impressive on the chain abstraction front, and yeah, we're big fans of. Yes, similar concepts.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Love it.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to cut you off. You were going to finish something, maybe about like one of your native wallets or something.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, there are some. I mean, yeah, fortunately, a lot of wallets do support, both Near and Bitcoin. So yeah, there'll be a lot of options to basically continue to see your balance. I think we've chosen to prioritize wallets like Xverse and Unisat that are very big with more the Ordinals and Runes community when it comes to interacting, and in Phantom too, right? Like when it comes to being able to interact with Near from your Bitcoin balance. That definitely does come with the trade-off of like, yeah, you'd have to be checking in one of these apps in order to see it. I mean, we could also have, I mean, I think the way we envision it is like, people come for the apps, so they'll make. I mean, it's kind of similar if you were to if you use Aave on Ethereum, for instance, like and you deposit USDC or ETH, like you won't see that on your wallet anymore. Now you might see the Aave representation of it if you whitelisted that, but like it isn't ETH, right? It's like a ETH, which is kind of like a a representation token, not the token itself. So like we expect that like users will take kind of a similar approach where it's like if you're like you won't actually we don't think it makes sense to deposit to Near. You should deposit to apps, right? It's like you go straight into this lending protocol because like you're like, I have Bitcoin, I want to borrow stable coins and buy more Bitcoin. And so you want to go straight into the lending protocol as quickly as possible and complete that flow. Same thing with meme coins. You're like, I want to buy Bitcoin meme coins. So you deposit into the meme coin platform and then you just trade. And then when you're done, you take your Bitcoin back, and that's or even your runes. So you can take your runes back too. That's the cool thing is like you'll be able to buy a bunch of runes there and then take them anywhere else. Go trade them on Magic Eden. Go trade them on Unisat or OKX or wherever.
Yeah, so what you guys could do is, like with Merlin does, there's like a purple circle at the bottom right hand of every app that I sign in my Xverse with, and then I click that, and the wallet pops up with my Near balance, for some instance, right? Is that something you guys thought about as well? Maybe having each site have a built-in smart wallet?
That's exactly right. So that we already have today.
Okay.
So as soon as these apps launch, you'll see there is like basically a smart wallet within, and the cool thing is again, that smart wallet will be persistent across any of the apps that are supporting this. So like you will be able to see your balance.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're not exactly locked into that app. I mean, obviously if you deposit into that lending protocol and that's where your Bitcoin is, then like, you're not going to see that in your Bitcoin balance necessarily across the other application. But if you haven't deposited it in, but you sort of have it in this ecosystem, then you will see it across these different applications.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's all you really need then, because I mean, we use Merlin all the time, and that's the same function. I mean, for me, it doesn't. I don't care what my Xverse says at that point because I know I bridged it in, and now I just want to use the dApps. Because I'm a DeFi guy, I want to make sure I want to add liquidity. I personally hate having tokens that I can't earn on. Right? If I'm going to hold it for 6 months, I want to put it somewhere where I can get some yield on it, and that's kind of what you guys offer with Near.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think that this is the future, this account abstraction approach. You guys call it chain abstraction. It's really the same kind of way to tackle it. Then because you have different features from different chain environments, right? Like Near, I think really does load up on like the 3 different approaches to decentralize the depositing, bridging, and managing of the Bitcoin assets, right? So I absolutely love that. But how do you see the future though? Do you see the future as like one big winner of account abstraction, or do you see the future as like these like chains or environments are kind of like almost like storefronts or like redistributors of like Bitcoin assets, and they'll coexist?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, I definitely think there's going to be a lot of chains, in my opinion,
Yeah.
that have different
Y'all are
functions.
early though. That's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think that I mean, it definitely seems like things are going that way. Still a lot to be shaken out, but I think things are definitely going that way. I mean, we certainly need more chains than like as much as I love Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is the best crypto asset by far. I do think we need more chains than Bitcoin. Even for Bitcoin to reach its full potential, I think we need more chains than just Bitcoin, and even more than Bitcoin, L2s, just given that there will still be kind of scalability limitations there. So I think that world is happening. Thus, you are going to need. The reality of it is that like chains do still have very specific goals, right? They have a very specific user groups, they have very specific cultures built around them, and they also have very specific tech decisions that should be based on whatever their audience, they're both developers, users, and beyond needs, right? And I think that's the benefit of having, being able to launch a new chain is you can target a very specific use case and like make decisions based on serving that specific use case. And also, I do think that security is going to become commoditized. I think that's somewhat controversial, but if you're paying attention to what's happening in the ZK landscape in particular, if we actually get to real-time ZK proving, then security becomes very cheap. And so if security is very cheap, then like one of the hardest parts of launching a new blockchain is bootstrapping security. And so if that starts to become less of a barrier to entry, then you're going to see even more and more specialized chains. And so in that world, I think you have to think about like, well, okay, if you want to, I mean, especially if you're a developer and you're like, oh, well, especially if you're a developer that's building financial-esque products and there's going to be all these assets on all these different chains, you have to think like, what's the layer of abstraction that makes the most sense for me to build that? It's probably not the chain level, right? Because there are going to be all these chains, there are going to be all the assets, there are going to be, kind of all over the place. So you actually need to think at a different level. And I think for us, we think that really is actually the key management, because if you can sign, if you can manage state and then you can sign and move assets anywhere, then it doesn't matter what launches, what new chains there are, what new assets there are, as long as they're not using a different signature scheme, you can still serve that new use case with very little work on your side. I mean, most of the work that you'll need to do, that new chain will be doing for you, because if you want to launch a chain and you want anyone to build on it, you need good RPCs, you need good developer tooling, you need all of these things. And so I don't know if there's going to be one winner, but I think there are going to be winners at this kind of decentralized key management level. So, we want it to be us. We think we've got a good approach to it. We think we have a great ecosystem that's building around it. So I'm very excited about it. It's still super early. There's no question about that, right? There's like, ICP was definitely, an early adopter of this kind of solution. I think they really saw the forest for the trees there, but their ecosystem is still, kind of evolving. I don't think they serve the broader landscape as well as they could. Obviously that takes time. I think, I think we do. I think we serve that landscape extremely well, kind of from the get-go. We thought of it from like an account basis rather than like which is different than a lot of these other solutions. And I think that's going to, really enable developers and then users to kind of adopt this new design space and see a lot of really good solutions here.
Yeah, 100% agree. So basically, like, what's going to happen in the future? It's like the chain with the best dApps are going to win, right? So right now we're in a phase of who can get the fastest, but at the end of the day, we want to use the best dApps with the best, maybe yield or whatever, or the next big thing is, right? But you guys having Near now gives us as Bitcoiners an opportunity, if you guys do develop the best app, to be able to join that very quickly. So you guys are building infrastructure for the future and stuff like that. Is there any dApps that you're really excited for that are on Near now that we can maybe look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. So RuneShot, as you guys kind of mentioned, I think that's how we even got connected. I'm extremely excited for what those guys are building. So that's from the Rune Mine team. That's going to be the Rune's launchpad. I think one of the really, really exciting aspects of that is they've thought a lot and put a lot of work into how you can easily, basically, meme coins are most dominant on Solana first by far, and then probably based in some of like the Ethereum L2s, right? But those communities, like they just like meme coins, right? Like I don't think that, I mean, some of them sure might be really bought into like the Solana ecosystem or base or whatever, but for the most part, like they're like exciting creators who are coming up with new ideas. They're degens, right? They're degens, and degens are going to go degen wherever there are opportunities. Obviously, there should be opportunities with like by far the biggest, asset ecosystem that exists, which is the Bitcoin community. But I think actually what's so exciting about RuneShot's bringing to the table is that that fully Bitcoin native experience will still be the focus. And so if you're a Bitcoiner, you can easily get in and out. But you will also be easily able to get in and out from Solana and Base and Ethereum and any of these other chains. And so I think that's actually, it's going to be really easy for creators to move over, because like they'll be able to take their Solana wallet, they'll be able to easily swap some Sol for Bitcoin in a few seconds and start participating, right? So very excited about what the Rune Mine team is bringing with RuneShot. Definitely pay attention to that one. We're very excited about, we have quite a few teams who are building Bitcoin lending. I'll definitely shoot this over as soon as it's ready to you guys for your community, which should be in a week or so. But yeah, it's basically going to be direct deposit to a lending protocol, and like you'll even be able to kind of direct deposit and then kind of pre-borrow. So like once your deposit lands, you'll borrow like up to a certain amount of stable coins against that Bitcoin deposit. And then eventually you can even like pre-swap, where you'll have like, you're like, I just want to lever up Bitcoin. Like I'm super long Bitcoin, BSR is coming, whatever, like you believe it. And you'll be able to kind of upfront authorize that whole flow, like which will, deposit your Bitcoin. So that'll take 2 Bitcoin blocks, take some time, but that's fine. You'll then, without even having to come back and pay attention to it, borrow stable coins against the Bitcoin. And then, you can even like set a swap with, some slippage. So you just make sure you don't, you're still protected from any sort of price volatility. So you won't necessarily even have to come back for that entire flow to finish. So we have quite a few teams that are building there. I think the first one that's announced publicly is Satoshi Port. They're very focused on letting Bitcoiners borrow against their Bitcoin and then go trade on popular DeFi protocols on any chain. So I think they're particularly focused on letting people trade on Hyperliquid. Because obviously Hyperliquid's offering some really cool things, but you need stable coins. So you don't have to sell your Bitcoin anymore. You'll be able to just borrow against it, borrow stables, go trade on Hyperliquid, come back and like redeem your Bitcoin. Integrating with a lot of protocols there. So definitely keep an eye out for Satoshi Port. And then I would say today, if you you've had some fun in Solana, but you want to get back to Bitcoin, we have a product that's live now. You guys can try out called SolSwap, solswap.org. You can swap from Solana to Bitcoin in, like, frankly, a shockingly small amount of time. I have no idea what gas fee they're using on the Bitcoin side. I feel like things could, like, I get Bitcoin in my Bitcoin wallet in way faster than a single block. But they're doing something pretty cool over there. So definitely check that out.
Wow.
So that's solswap.org?
Solswap.org. Yes.
Yeah. Faster than this Bitcoin block. That's crazy.
I mean, I think they're just using a very aggressive fee, and so like if you get lucky with the timing, you can get it in. No, not that one. Let me
SolSwap.
like SOL, like soul the token. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was about to say,
I don't know what that SolSwap is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea what that is. Maybe it's good. Who knows? No one. Yeah.
No, I think it's something on Phantom.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I'm actually starting to develop this perception of because there is no singular uniting virtual machine with Bitcoin as of yet, at least, that like there's gonna just be the Bitcoin ecosystem, and there's gonna be like really solid products from not all of them, but most of the tech stacks that try to plug in. So ICP will have like a product or two that everybody's gonna know about. Near's gonna have maybe 3 to 5 products that everybody knows about, and then these other ones, and then they're all kind of like known as like Near also has products in the Bitcoin ecosystem kind of thing, and then they're all a part of that. And I actually think that would work because it's almost kind of like like companies that are servicing Bitcoin assets now. So.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I mean, I think the point that you're exactly right about is like the only thing that matters for any of these tech stacks is, do you have killer apps? And then I think you're exactly right, is like it's especially if we are security kind of cost of security continues to come down, then we're going to see specialization. And if we see specialization, then like you would imagine that specialization can definitely be more conducive to certain killer apps and like facilitating those apps. We kind of already see it, right? I think like Hyperliquid is probably the best example right now, like very purpose built for initially perps trading, and now they do spot and things. I think that type of trend is gonna continue. I think Near is a great place to build Bitcoin apps, for instance, among other things, like among these like cross-chain apps, right? And so I think that's what I think we'll exactly see that. And like the cool thing about us is like we also aim to be the glue between those apps, like you mentioned, right? Like if there are these killer apps like a Hyperliquid, like a Pump.Fun on Solana, we're gonna make it easier for users to utilize all of those things with as little friction as possible. So yeah, I'm excited about the potential for sure.
Yeah, man, I love it. It's been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. Definitely want to do a second episode with you. Maybe when you guys have some more dApps, can we showcase some stuff, do tutorials and stuff like that if you're interested in the future. But I would love for now to kind of give you the stage one last time to kind of talk to our community, our audience, and maybe something you didn't miss or anything you want to say at the end. Come find you or anything.
Yeah, no, please, yeah, to anyone listening, please reach out if you're interested in how to build Bitcoin apps using our tech. I think it's going to unlock a new design space for the Bitcoin ecosystem. We're very excited about really being able to just enable users to do more with the Bitcoin. So yeah, please do reach out. We love to support builders in any way that we can. So you can find us if you reach out to Proximity Labs on Twitter, or myself, can drop my Twitter on there as well. We'd love to chat. And then for users out there, any Bitcoin holders, I'd say keep your eyes peeled. Some of those teams I mentioned, you're going to see RuneShot coming to market this month, I believe. You're going to see Satoshi Port and some of these lending protocols. They'll be launching. You can use SolSwap today. That's available. Just trying to expand the set of what you can do with your Bitcoin. Expand what you can do with your runes, make the experience easier, make it more fun. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'll have all your links and all your Twitter in the notes below, guys. So guys, go check those out. Check out SolSwap, proximity.dev, and pretty much everything that we looked at today. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kendall, for your time. It's been an amazing educational episode, and we will talk to you soon, sir.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me.
All right.
see you, man.
Bye.
Absolutely amazing, guys. Kendall from proximity.dev. I mean, these guys are building for near. Check everything out. This is really important, guys. We need to make sure that we can use the best dApps when they're available, no matter what chain they're on. Stop being chain maxis, right? Bitcoin's awesome, but at the same time, we're here to make money. We're here to make financial freedom for our family and the future generations. We want our grandkids to remember our name, right? So, but we're going to be able to do that through apps and potentially airdrop opportunities as well. Using these brand new stuff, a lot of times you guys are going to get free money for doing it, and that's something that we want to definitely help you guys find, and that's what we're looking for ourselves.
Exactly. We're gonna just keep trying to research and let you guys know before the mainstream media knows and stuff about these type of integrations, right? These tech stacks that are coming over, and one by one, they're silently plugging into Bitcoin. And pretty soon, like I said, earlier in the show, I think there's going to be an ecosystem that's not on Bitcoin, but other tech stacks and stuff servicing our Bitcoin assets, and they're going to be considered part of the Bitcoin ecosystem because they will be. And so it's important to learn about this because this is where I think some of the tide could turn a little bit to more seriousness versus meme all the time. Like these applications that come out here, they're going to be financial type of applications as well. Using leverage with volatility and things like that. So super excited. And we thank you so much for, hanging out with us today. And we hope that you learned something from Kendall. I know I learned many things from him. And we want to thank him for joining us. But if you wouldn't mind checking out our partners, we'd greatly appreciate it. It would help us out a ton. Emblem Vault is going to be the interoperability tool. You're going to be able to jump your ordinals from Bitcoin layer 1 to Merlin Bitcoin layer 2, or to abstract, to base, to Arbitrum, many different layers. Eventually Solana, possibly near, with these type of developments and stuff. We'll find out soon. But they also have a Bitcoin AI wallet that you're going to be able to use your agent to be able to vault your ordinals, or to be able to make Bitcoin transactions for you on your behalf. And don't forget about their rune called the Emblem Keys that you can trade now on OpenSea. And then you can open your Emblem Keys on their TGE, which is, I believe, the week of September 17th. And each vault has 2 million keys in there, 2 million runes. So you can trade them right now on OpenSea, but you can learn more at emblem.vision. And then BetBTC is the predictions marketplace for the Bitcoin ecosystem. They utilize ICP and Bitcoin technology for you guys to be able to place bets on their markets. All you need is an Xverse wallet and some Bitcoin, and it takes 6 blocks, and you can start placing bets right away. They will have 24-hour markets, which is going to be awesome. You're going to be able to trade very quickly on there with those quick markets, as well as create your own markets, which you're going to be able to earn up to 1.5% on. Very exciting stuff. You can learn more at betbtc.win. BitPerp, the perps and leverage DEX of the Bitcoin ecosystem. You're going to be able to trade synthetic runes, BRC20s, and tokens that are popular outside the Bitcoin ecosystem, like Trump or Melania. Whatever's hot, they most likely will have. They're going to be launching there on a Bitcoin layer 2 mainnet very soon, but they have their paper trading competition coming out soon as well. And you can earn, I believe, some points on there. You can learn more at bitperp.io. And Fluid Tokens, They are the UTXO wizard devs for Bitcoin Layer 1, the first to introduce retail staking vaults. Don't miss the staking vault for Dog Go to the Moon Season 2 coming up very soon, probably tomorrow, maybe next couple days. But you can go to fluidtokens.com and learn more there. And don't forget about our integrated partners, Foxy, building the metaverse called Bitverse on Bitcoin, and their first-person shooter game, which will be streaming this coming Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern. And then Ordinal Hive, the Ordinal aggregator marketplace for Bitcoin Layer 1 and Layer 2, cheapest Ordinals around, and they have amazing trader tools as well. And lastly, but not least, Merlin Chain, your number one scaling solution for Bitcoin native L1 assets and protocols. If you are a builder on Bitcoin Layer 1 and you want your protocol to be a bit more seamless and flexible, you can reach out to Merlin Chain and apply for a builder's grant. They have great builder support there. And if you are a retail user, you can swap on merlinswap.org. You can swap your Merlin or your Rep BTC for DAO Go to the Moon or other synthetic Bitcoin fungible tokens there. We thank you so much for checking out our partners.
Yep. Great job as always, man. If you guys wouldn't mind checking out ordinalrevolution.com, we have some of the best articles dating all the way back to last year. If you know someone just entering the space, please send them our website. We really feel you can help them get started and caught up to where we are today. If you guys need a VPN, we have the number one VPN, that's Nord. We have a 70% off coupon. But if you do not use Nord, you should definitely use a VPN, period. Do not give these websites your IP address, which could lead to your address, guys. We're Bitcoiners at the end of the day. We do not want that. So use a VPN. And if you want to use Nord, which is, like I said, the best, we have a 70% off coupon. And if you guys are going to Bitcoin at 2025 Las Vegas, we have tickets here. Do not wait till May to get your tickets, guys. They're going to be up probably 10 times the price they are today. Get them as soon as possible and use our link. It helps the show. Thank you so much for that. And if you guys need merch for East Denver, Bitcoin 2025 Las Vegas, or any conference, or just lounge around at home, we have some of the best merch in crypto, not just ordinals. Check everything out here at ordinalrevolution.com. And guys, we are live Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 4 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys, and until tomorrow.
Peace.
Ordinal Revolution. Let's go.